We're going to do the introductions first. I'm today's chief judge of the senior judges. My name is Tom Fain. I'm a retired securities lawyer. I will now ask the other judges to introduce themselves, beginning with Nate.
Hi, I'm Nate Russell. I'm a senior contracts manager for Raytheon Company, Aerospace Defense.
Who wants to go next?
I'm happy to.
Okay.
I'm Daria Montijo. I work as a social media and communications consultant, mostly for large pharma companies and healthcare brands.
Okay, who do we have next?
I'm Hal Mooney. I'm a small business owner and entrepreneur.
And we're missing James, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the sound you just heard in the background is my phone. And it rings like an old car horn because I'm the curator of an old car museum, if you're wondering. Now the team, would you introduce yourselves? And first, let me thank you for being here and participating in the program today, especially under these difficult circumstances.
Is it okay if we share our screen now to do that?
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
I will now share the screen. And then let me just, okay. Do you want to start off with introductions?
Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Allie. This is my last semester, so I'm graduating May 4th, and I'm specializing in marketing analytics.
I could go next. Hi, everyone. I'm May. I'm a finance major, and this is also my last semester, technically. I still have electives to finish in the summer, so I'll be in LMU for a little bit longer. And how about Anita, you go next?
Hi, I'm Anita. I'm a junior marketing major. All right, Mackenzie, you want to go?
Okay, we have
Mackenzie, you're muted.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie. I'm also a marketing major.
And I'm Natalia, and I'm also a junior marketing major.
Is that everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, let's begin.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm May.
I'm Allie.
I'm Anita.
Mackenzie.
And I'm Natalia.
And we are here to present our proposal to Carnival Cruise about the Food Waste Biodigester Program. Next slide, please. Before we get into specifics of this proposal, we wanted to give a brief overview of our presentation. We are Nemo Consulting, an outside consulting firm hired by Carnival to help with their sustainability goals. After analyzing data and brainstorming options, we're here to present our findings with the board members of Carnival Cruise Line. Next slide, please. First, we will give a brief background of the company and the threats of the industry. Then we will talk about the food waste program that Carnival has already implemented. Afterwards, we will identify the ethical issues and showcase our solution through the lens of the legal, financial, and ethical factors. In the end, we will give a short summary of our main points. Now, I would like to pass it on to my fellow consultant, Allie, who will give the background of Carnival.
Here's the background on Carnival. Next slide, please. Carnival Corporation is founded in 1972 and became publicly listed in 1987. In the 90s, Carnival generated capital through stocks and started acquiring other companies. Carnival is also a dual-listed company with headquarters in the United States and in the UK. In this presentation, we'll be focusing on Carnival Cruise Line, the brand, and the one based in the US. Carnival is the world's largest leisure company, and the corporation has over 100 ships, owns 8 different brands, and is worth $7.6 billion. Next slide, please.
On top of having to navigate the
Ooh.
current COVID-19 crisis, go ahead, Ali. Sorry,
Oh yeah, okay. Well, but today the cruise industry is taking a hard blow from the coronavirus as Carnival shares dropped more than 80% year to date. Since Carnival is not incorporated in America and employs staff from other companies, a bailout from the US government is not an option. Carnival has already decreased booking prices to historical low. Furthermore, the government has suspended all cruises. We don't know how long it will be suspended for or when consumers will feel safe to travel. This is adding another devastating blow to Carnival's reputation after performing damage control for other mishaps on board. Customers have lost faith in the cruise line's ability to keep them safe and support the environment. At this point, Carnival must reinvent their operations in order to survive. Now I'm turning it over to Natalia. Next slide.
thank you, Ali. So on top of having to navigate the current COVID-19 crisis, Carnival faces another threat from an entirely new type of competitor. Virgin Voyages, a Florida-based cruise line, recently announced that it would be launching a net zero carbon cruise line in 2023. Their new cruise line will be committed to changing business for good by centering on ocean health and sustainability. Tom Ackland, the CEO and president of Virgin Voyages, has openly addressed this commitment, saying that the ocean is our home and we are on a mission to protect it. The single biggest threat facing our ocean is climate change, and we want to be part of that solution. Therefore, with such a unique positioning that lives up to customer demands and expectations, Virgin Voyages will be Carnival's biggest competitor after sea tourism is reopened. Carnival thus needs to use this transformative time to reposition on a multi-pronged initiative that focuses on health and on the environment.
So from all the glory Carnival had in the past to the crisis they're facing nowadays from either coronavirus or the new rivals, our group thinks that now is a good time for Carnival Cruise Line to rebuild their brand and be industry leaders again. From their sustainability report in 2018, the CEO says that we are committed to being leaders in environmental stewardship. We are dedicated to protecting and preserving the beauty and majesty of the waters we sail and the community we visited. For the purpose of these presentations, we want to help Carnival Cruise Line further reach these goals. Next slide, please.
Okay, so unfortunately, Carnival Cruise Lines has had a long history of dumping plastic, oil, and food waste into the ocean, dating back all the way to 1993. In 2016, its Princess Line subsidiaries was fined $40 million for dumping oil contaminated waste into the ocean, which according to the New York Times was the largest criminal penalty ever imposed for intentional vessel pollution. This caused the company to be put on a 5-year probation. And last year, Carnival was also fined an additional $20 million penalty for dumping in the Bahamas and falsifying records. At the beginning of this year, Carnival again violated US regulations by discharging untreated gray water into the ocean. And according to the US Environmental Protection Agency, this water can contain bacteria, pathogens, metals, among other harmful substances. So in order to accelerate its environmental compliance after the dumping incident and to tackle its increasing food waste issue, Carnival announced that it would be piloting a new biodigester program aboard 15 of its ships. These biodigesters are strategically placed along the ship in areas like the galley to increase efficiency and convenience. So what are these biodigesters, you may be asking? A biodigester is a machine that functions like a human stomach and breaks down organic waste. To better understand this process, we reached out to UC Davis, who has been at the forefront of researching this technology. We had the chance to deepen our research by discussing this topic with Tyler Barzy, a current PhD candidate studying digestate processing technologies. We learned that food waste is first inserted into the biodigester, where microorganisms break it down in the absence of oxygen. And this process is known as anaerobic digestion. At the end of the process, both biogas and digestate are produced. The biogas produced can be used as a source of power for electricity and heating, and the digestate comes out in a liquid form. Rich in nutrients, this digestate or liquid can actually be used as biofertilizer and composting material. However, Carnival unfortunately is choosing to dump this liquid digestate into the ocean. I will now be passing it on to my colleague Mackenzie, who will explain why this practice is so problematic.
Thank you, Natalia. What is the problem with dumping the biodigestate liquid into the ocean? Next slide, please. The ethical issue at hand is that this current food waste disposal process Carnival has implemented is unethical because the elements in the biodigester liquid being dumped into the ocean will cause long-term harm to marine life and will endanger human health. Next slide, please. Carnival and other sources say the biodigestate liquid is environmentally safe, but once we saw that the liquid can be used for fertilizer due to its main element of nitrogen, we learned of the hazardous effects nitrogen has on marine life and to our drinking water. This is why we have chosen to focus our solution on the UN Sustainable Goals of Clean Water and Sanitation and goal number 14, Life Below Water. Next slide, please. Your company has done a great job in being the first cruise company to implement the biodigester to reduce your environmental impact. However, the costs of your solution outweigh the benefits. The tangible benefits is that you are dumping liquid instead of solid food waste into the ocean. But dumping this liquid into the ocean is still considered to be polluting the water. As I said before, nitrogen is the main element in the liquid, and while nitrogen is a vital ingredient to a plant's growth, too much nitrogen in the ocean can create hazardous algae blooms, also known as HAB. According to the EPA, HAB produces toxins and can severely reduce or eliminate oxygen in the water, which may lead to many marine life deaths and can cause long-term harm toward biodiversity. Animals can also catch illnesses from eating fish or shellfish that have been contaminated by HAB toxins. Many passengers look forward to seeing the beautiful sights the ocean has to offer, so they will be quite disappointed when there are piles of dead fish on the ocean's surface. Next slide, please. Speaking of what people look forward to on cruises, especially on cruises going to South America, is connecting with the ocean by going swimming. However, if the HABs have polluted the water, there is a very high risk of people getting sick from swimming since the algae toxins can enter the body through a person's skin. Although you do not have to go swimming for these toxins to enter your body because the algae can contaminate our bath or shower water and our drinking water, which can lead to serious illnesses. The image in the middle is not a smoothie you can get at Jamba Juice. It is actually contaminated water from these HABs. So it is pretty disgusting and it is a very important issue. Next slide, please. HABs can also block sunlight from reaching plants living along the ocean bed, such as seagrass, which need the light to survive. Seagrass provides many vital resources to live in the ocean and to humans, which is why it is considered the third most valuable ecosystem on this planet. In terms of ocean health, it is known as lungs of the sea because 1 square meter produces 10 liters of oxygen daily. Seagrass is also used as a food source and habitat for many species. As you can see in the image on the left, small species are able to hide in the seagrass. So without many of these animals will be Without this habitat, many animals will be eaten by their predators, which can severely reduce biodiversity. Next slide, please. Here I have outlined some of the benefits of seagrass to human health, and most of these can also benefit marine life. Clean water in the surrounding area is one of the benefits. The next one is reducing, seagrass also reduces the amount of carbon in the atmosphere by capturing up to 83 million metric tons of carbon each year. To put this into perspective, a car that travels about 4,000 miles emits less than 1 metric ton of carbon. So 83 million is a lot. According to the US National Library of Medicine, it can treat many human diseases and medical conditions such as malaria, heart disease, skin disease, low blood pressure, and mental disorders. From these harmful costs, we can see that this is an important issue because we need to find a way to keep our oceans clean in order to preserve its many vital resources. In order not add to the growth of the HABs, we have developed a solution for your company where the benefits outweigh the costs now I am going to give the floor to my colleague Natalia, who will be discussing this solution.
Thank you, Mackenzie. I will now discuss our solution. So our solution involves selling the biodigestate liquid instead of dumping it. Our plan is to package the liquid digestate from the biofertilizer into large liquid containers. These liquid containers would then be sold to an organization who could private label and sell them to farmers, providing them with a healthier alternative to chemical-heavy fertilizers. We would begin piloting this program in Long Beach, California, with the ships that dock at that port to first examine the results before expanding it to the rest of the ships that contain the biodigesters. Now, my colleague Ali will discuss the legal dimensions of the solution.
Okay, so our goal is to sell the digestate to private label companies, therefore handing over our liability when the fertilizer is sold. This also eliminates the need to create a separate brand for the digestate. In California, fertilizer must be licensed to sell and registered as a product under the FFLDRS, which is a branch within the CDFA. This can be done online, and videos are provided to help through the process. Sellers are also encouraged to certify their product using the industry-funded fertilizer certification program run by the CDFA. The EPA provides a list of chemical substances that are approved to be used for agriculture. Carnival should test for harmful ingredients in their digestate before giving it to private label companies. Past lawsuits related to fertilizer have been filed by the EPA. These cases are primarily about toxic ingredients and chemical spills during the production of fertilizer. Anita will elaborate more on the process of private labeling. Next slide, please.
To make sure that our solution is valid, we need to create a partnership with a distribution company. One example that we can think of is AGRX. AGRX is a chemical and fertilizer company in Southern California. The company have expertise in the agriculture system, and they also know how much fertilizers should be used for different kind of plants. They also have a developed fertilizer distribution system. So after creating the contract and make the offer, both parties need to make sure that they understand their liabilities and responsibilities. And on our side, we need to make sure that there's no harmful chemicals within the liquid. We also need to negotiate for a fair price. Now I'm going to pass on to my colleague May to talk about the financial factors. Next, please.
Due to the lack of disclosure on the cost of capital of the biodigester, we were unable to get specific numbers of how much it costed to invest in each biodigester. However, research shows that an approximate price range for a biodigester can range from $350,000 to $5 million, depending on the size of the operation and the technology involved. This is an estimate of a farm biodigester. We have an estimate that our digester, which is quite small in size, costs about $35,000. In their 10K and the 2019 executive summary, Carnival Corporations did disclose that they are rolling out the 15 ships equipped with biodigesters this year. Therefore, what we are proposing is to launch a pilot program of partnering to sell fertilizers with a contract distributor or organization for a 3-day cruise from Long Beach to Mexico. On the right-hand side is our table of assumptions on the transaction. In our assumption, we will base off 100 ounces of fertilizer selling at $3 per ounce. Cost of goods sold is assumed to be 50%, resulting in $150. The distribution and cost of sale would be an approximate of 2% because we are planning to give an extra pay initiative for our current laborers if they're to take responsibility for more work. Therefore, we will not be requiring new employees. After deducting tax, we came up with a 36% profit margin on fertilizers sold. If the solution was not implemented, Carnival will not be making profit. Carnival will be dumping biodigestate into the ocean. But if they do choose our solution, they can turn dump into profit. Now, I would like to pass it on to Mackenzie, who will view the solution in the lens of the ethical factor. Next slide, please.
Thank you, May. Our solution is ethical because there are more benefits than costs. One of the benefits of our solution is that it supports plant growth and health due to its main element of nitrogen, which is an essential nutrient a plant needs. And according to UC Davis, the biodigestate liquid benefits crops' growth more than synthetic fertilizer, which is commonly used by farmers and is man-made. By not dumping harmful toxins into the ocean, we are creating a more environmentally friendly ocean where plants can grow, such as seagrass, because sunlight is able to shine through the surface of the water, and marine life can continue to live and evolve. Unfortunately, there is the possibility of excess nitrogen spilling into nearby bodies of water if farmers supply their crops with too much liquid fertilizer. To prevent this from happening, WRAP, a UK organization that partners with businesses to create sustainable economies, recommended that farmers should have their digestate liquid only supply 50 to 60% of total amount of nitrogen required by each crop. Next slide, please. To show how digestate liquid fertilizer benefits agriculture, I have provided a visual. It helps crops grow faster, stronger, and healthier. The barley in image A was not supplied with digestate fertilizer, and the rest of the images show barley plants that were supplied with different levels of digestate fertilizer, and these plants are greener and taller. Now, my colleague May will be talking about how our solution will put your company on the right path to upholding some of the sustainable goals you have promised to achieve.
You have 1 minute, you're out of time.
Okay, so I just wanted to point out that the sustainability goal director of Carnival did mention that they will be basing their sustainability strategy based on the United Nations goals. Next slide, please. One of these goals is the number 6 goal of the SDG, where they target to improve water quality by reducing pollution and eliminating dumping and minimizing release of hazardous chemicals and materials. Next slide, please. The next SDG goal that they should focus on is also the number 14 goal, which is life below water, which the aim is to manage and protect marine life, coastal ecosystem to avoid significant impacts. Next, I will hand it off to Anita, who will give the closing loop.
So with our solution being considered, now the company can create a closing loop which will benefit all the stakeholders. First, work around the ship will make the food waste into the biodigestate liquid. Second, we can sell the liquid to distributors as fertilizers. Then The profit can be used to support other sustainability initiatives for the cruise line companies. Next slide, please.
I have to stop you. I gave you an extra minute. So let's go back to the screen.
Okay.
Okay, now we come to a question period. As the senior judge, I'm asked to lead off, and then the other judges can chime in with questions they may have. After we do 10 or 15 minutes of that, we'll have some feedback for you. I confess that I don't have too many questions, but here's a double question combined. Is anybody doing anything like this now? And are there any alternatives?
So based on our research, we did see that Carnival is the first person as a cruise line to do so. There are farms that do convert the waste into energy, but none that implement it into either a cruise like this.
And as we see through research from UC Davis, we actually reached out to them and they got back to us, a graduate student, and from them and also Cornell and other farms, they see how well this liquid can produce plants and be of real value to agriculture. And so no cruise line, like May said, has actually implemented, but farms have, and that's why we've considered this alternative.
Mm-hmm. I'd just like to clarify something. No cruise line has used the biodigesters like Carnival has. And to echo Mackenzie's point, farms have been using biodigesters and have been using the liquid that comes from that as biofertilizers for a long time now.
To follow up on your response, what do those cruise lines do with the waste?
Oh, go ahead, Mackenzie, sorry.
So usually they dump it just into the ocean, or they sometimes take it to a landfill. I did try to research some of the why they take it to a landfill versus the ocean. And one of the main reasons is that they just dump it in the ocean because it's more convenient, and it's also legal if it's, I believe, 13 miles from the port.
I was also going to say, as far as legalities, cruise lines have been doing this forever. They are multi-billion-dollar companies. If you slap a 20 million, 40 million fee for dumping, they're willing to pay that off, or they pay off people to turn a blind eye. The thing, again, going back to the coronavirus, is we don't have any income right now or any revenue being produced. And maybe ticket sales for the future, but this is one way to make sure that we don't get any more fines, as well as make another way to come up with profit for what we do have at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Nate, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. So I understand that the farms like this liquid and they use it. So the first question is, what's the demand? How strong is the demand overall for this? And two, you just mentioned that someone just mentioned, I think Allie did, about the fines. We're a multi-billion-dollar company, and not to say that we don't want to do the right thing, but is it cheaper for me to pay a fine than implement this program? And we already have the biodigesters, but what's the true cost of implementing, finding a middleman, a supplier, and handing this off? Is it more expensive than the fines?
So to go with your second question, it is literally, you would not have to implement any more money besides the fact of paying for the barrels. Mm-hmm. But you would be actually making money by implementing our solution than just dumping it into the ocean. And you're making a positive environmental impact. So there's no, to me, from my standpoint, I don't understand why a company would continue to just throw away money versus to implement our solution and actually make money and make a profit. In terms of the demand, I really do feel I mean, I know there is a demand out there. That's why so many farmers are using this liquid. But to come from, for us to sell it, I think it would just make it more competitive, and it is a very demanding industry already. So I think we would have a really good way of going in, and we're not losing anything by entering this industry.
There's also
Because
a
we've
higher,
already spent the money.
sorry, there's also a higher demand for organic products, as we see. I mean, even big corporations like Walmart now stocking the shelves with organic products because that's what has become popular for consumers. So fertilizer companies have to mine out certain chemicals, and all the spills and all the after effects from it are what causes lawsuits. So this is our organic substance that we're creating and that we can give to fertilizer companies, which gives them more incentive to come from us because there's a higher demand for organic substances used in fertilizer. Thank you.
My concern is around the market being saturated, and maybe the margins are not as high as we think they are for this product.
I would also say that this is a pilot program. So right now we are targeting just California to see what regulations we could get through with California. And since it's so specific, the demand might be a little bit different than it would be if we decide to sell this fertilizer to the entire United States or different countries as well. So over time, we'd be able to see the demand and how much this will improve our profit line. Not only that, again, it reduces any fines as well.
Thank you.
Also, just to add one more thing, and because California and many states are in a drought, this soil will also help continue to grow plants even when in a drought. So I think that's a pretty important point to make.
Daria, you have any questions?
Thanks, Tom. You guys hit on two of my big ones with the competitors and the demand question, like what this looks like at scale. So I'll give you a marketing question since there are a lot of marketing folks there. And it has to do with what would be the key points in differentiating this for the customer base? I heard a few little things here and there, but if you were faced with the need to be able to transition people from what they're using now, how would this work better for them?
I think, again, the visual I showed by it literally strengthens and it makes your plants more healthy, and you'll get a larger product from using our fertilizer versus like man-made fertilizer. This organic fertilizer would, so I think that would be the point to make that would differentiate from the other products that are out there.
At the same time, I'd like to add that it's sustainable. So it's taking this problem that a lot of cruise lines have, which is food waste, and it's kind of, I guess, dealing with the problem afterwards. But at the same time, this is a fertilizer that farmers can use that we can later partner with so that we can locally source the food that comes into our ships. So that's something we'd like to look for later on. But I think promoting that it's sustainable and that at the same time it helps farmers locally as well.
I was just going to mention that our target audience are these private label companies. So they're probably thinking like, what is it for us? Of course, there is a consumer demand, but I understand the marketing, the people who we are trying to sell to are these private label companies. I would just let them know that they're skipping a huge process of waiting for foods and composts to really break down and make this digestate. We already eliminated that process for them. So they can take our digestate and then maybe add whatever makes it unique to their company. But we pretty much did all the work from there. So it's a pretty good deal to get a large amount of organic material that you don't have to do much more to.
Also, just sorry, just going back to Nate's question earlier about how we would be able to go into this competitive market. Like Ali said, we are selling to private label companies. So these organizations already have their market and their customers. So by flipping them to our supply will be fairly easy, since it is a no-brainer to switch over, since it helps your crops anyways. So we would have customers that way.
Al, you want to take us over the finish line?
Yeah, I've got a question about the financial assumptions. You guys mentioned that there's like a 2% payroll increase cost to process the digestate. And one, do you think that's accurate? It seems pretty low to ask someone who's working the galleys to start processing this digestate. And two, do you think that's ethical to just raise their pay by 2% to add a whole nother dimension to their job?
So to the first point, oh, go ahead, May. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, sorry. So we decided on a 2% just because our program is quite small right now. So that's why we thought that 2% might be more suitable. And Talia, what were you going to mention?
Oh, I was going to talk about the first point that you mentioned about employees now having to create this digestate. So the machine does that itself. They would essentially just have to take that liquid that they're dumping and instead put it into the large liquid containers that Carnival would buy. And we believe it is ethical, as this is something they are already doing. So employees are already putting the food waste into these biodigesters. It would just be an added step that wouldn't take a lot. They could have the containers nearby. They already have these biodigesters in the galley. So keeping those containers at hand and just pouring the liquid into the containers, we think wouldn't cost that much.
Going off of that, these laborers are also dumping the liquid into the ocean initially. So instead of dumping into the ocean, they're just dumping it into a barrel instead.
Okay, now we come to a section called feedback, where the panel members are supposed to say something intelligent to you to perhaps allow you to reevaluate your program and improve it. They asked me to go first. I don't have much to say because you've done a very good job. I would just offer the observation that you have an awful lot of enthusiasm here, and that carries into your presentation, so thank you. My fellow panel members can have a turn now. Nate, you want to go again first?
Sorry, hand it over to Dari and Hal can go first.
Okay.
I'll go. Echo what Tom said. Really well done, ladies. I appreciate the consistency on the backgrounds. Maybe that's because that's a nice marketing package. I like that. I think that just kind of overall, you've done a tremendous amount of legwork, and that the theory of it seems to fit together really well. I think there's, sustainability arguments and just a lot of good work. What I would offer is that if you took this to the next step, or if we were actually on the board, there are probably a lot of second order effects that come from changing the supply chain, moving pieces like this. I'm sure there are hurdles as to why this hasn't been done before, or why Carnival, believes what they're doing is safe. So from a regulation standpoint, with all the connection points with AGRX and just kind of recreating that entire new system, there are probably second order effects that would need to be dealt with, whether they're financial or ethical. So, if there were a follow-up to this, there'd probably be many more detailed questions, but I think just excellent, really intriguing idea and really interesting. I would love to know some of the science behind it too, but that's just me geeking out. So really well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Nate.
Yeah, I love the enthusiasm. You guys, it really feels like all of you guys have mastered the subject. Because I love the contribution that you all have and brought to it. Two things that really jumped out to me in the presentation. This is ready to use digestate. I forgot who said that, in terms of getting this over to a company, a organic company ready to use. You know, when you talk about supply chains and manufacturing process, you know, whatever you can do to cut that time is and put it on somebody else is a huge plus. If you could have pulled that thread, you know, to show that you have a market ready to go. And then when taking the pilot program from California and then scaling it, and that's another great thing that companies love is okay, pilot, take it from California, you show, you master that it works, you scale it nationally, and then Carnival is worldwide, and then you take it regionally throughout the world, I guess, to other farms, I guess, or you also show that you have a system ready to have it scale to take advantage of what's out there. I mean, like Daria said, the potential here really seems to be immense. But great job.
Thank you.
Al, you want to ring in?
Yeah, I enjoyed learning about this. You guys all did a very confident and professional job of educating me on a wide range of subjects in kind of a deep pool, which was very impressive. And I would echo what Nate said, where I would love to see how this went from a pilot program to a full corporate program, and then maybe even further to be, you know, government mandated, and how Carnival could lead and be a corporate leader in sustainable tourism, and how they could try and implement this across the entire industry, which would be cool. But otherwise, I mean, I think you guys did a terrific job.
Thank you all. We now come to the end of our program.